It's time for a little comedy, a little content, and a lot of conversation. It's the Geno Jones Show, exclusively right here on YouTube. Now here's your host, Geno Jones.
I'm gonna let you jump right in. You got the floor. My bad. My mic was off, so take it away.
Okay, thank you. Because I was wondering what was going on. I'm over here trying
I'm
to be an
ranting, raving,
engineer.
right? Didn't even look down because he was just rushing. That's what happens when you do shit at the last minute. But go ahead, jump in there, man.
Okay, so I'm not sure where you were in the presentation, but I know
Well,
we had a
so let's talk about. Well, the last thing I closed with, basically, I was saying political parties are delivery systems, and
hmm
for our resources and rights. And
hmm
you're voting. You're not voting for a party. You're voting for resources, rights, your freedom, and including the right to be able to vote. And then I'd
hmm
segue to the Supreme Court that's being
Okay.
playing games, playing footsies with Orange
hmm
Hitler and I made it clear that the executive branch, whoever the president is, does not control. He has no say over elections. The Constitution says elections are run by each individual state. You can confirm that for me or deny it, and you can take it away from there.
Yes, you are very much correct. There is a little nuance to that the Congress controls the federal elections, the states control state elections, and how elections are processed. In other words, states determine how they count votes, determine within parameters when you can vote. Early voting, that's a state right. Unless Congress delegates the right through legislation to the president, he has no rights. Last night, when I was teaching legal writing, because I teach legal writing now, I was having a conversation with the students about the hierarchy of U.S. law. You have the Constitution at the very top, and then you have treaties and statutes. Well, statutes and treaties, that should be the best order to say this. And then you have executive orders, which go way down. So, in other words, the president's executive orders are musings of what he'd like to see happen. They don't carry the force of law unless he's directing an agency. And even then, unless what he's directing them is within the bounds that the Congress created that particular agency for, that's the situation. So, Gino, I'll start with this by saying I know a lot of people have gotten the news out of the Supreme Court a little misleading. The Supreme Court did not ban mail-in voting, and they did not say Trump's entire executive order is constitutional. What the court actually did was remove a legal roadblock that had stopped the administration from moving forward. And now, here today, I'm not sure if you've heard, the states have filed another lawsuit
Yeah, I did.
attacking the actual postal service rules. So what basically happened was the president put out this executive order. States um, went after it in court, and so there is a legal question of what did you go after? Like I said earlier, his executive order doesn't have the power of law. And so what happened in the meantime, after the court struck down the injunction, the Postal Service came up with new rules for mail-in voting. Now you have a legal matter. And so now the states have filed suit. So more than likely, nothing will happen before the election. There's just not enough time that even if the court said, okay, he can do this, which I doubted they would say, because it goes back to the first thing we talked about. The president has no power over federal elections. Congress does, and unless they grant him the power, and the states carry out or execute the actual elections. So right now, at this moment, barring anything outside of this conversation happening, there's really not too much the postal office can do, because at the end of the day, Congress has to pass a law to allow them, and this is beyond the scope. The president, the post office have nothing to do with elections. The post office only role in it is just to deliver the mail like they're supposed to be doing, period. And so this again kind of goes back twofold. Trump is a numbskull and an idiot, and has no clue about the Constitution. And then the second part is we have a majority of individuals in this country that don't understand how civics work, don't understand how government works, don't understand that the president is not king. He's just the executive over the executive branch. And like the president of a company can't come in one day and say, oh, I'm going to send out a memo and everybody with red hair, you're fired. Can't do that. That obviously goes against EEOC laws, but I'm sure it goes against that company's bylaws, which operate like the Constitution for that company. So, some of this stuff is just Trump being Trump and throwing shit against the wall, seeing what sticks, and as a distraction to his incompetence, his malfeasance, his grifting, his criminal crime family operation, and the billionaire grift of the country, and the racist white nationalists attempted takeover of the country, and Republicans and Democrats are being silent while the fascists move forward. And when I say Democrats, I'm talking about party leadership like Hakeem Jeffries or Chuck Schumer. And I'm picking on them in particular because they are the main reasons that the Democrats don't put up a united front or fight tooth and nail, because they're beholden to other lobbyist groups, which I'm just not going to name. And that's where their allegiance is split. And so I'm hoping that with these elections that we take a close look at our leadership. This is my personal opinion. I'll say this here. Even though Hakeem Jeffries is a Black man and he is a part of the Divine Nine, and for those of you that don't know, he's actually a member of Kappa Alpha Psi. My choice of him as leader I wouldn't choose him as leader. I don't think he has the leadership skills. And for me, meeting with Jared Kushner, who holds no public office, who has no official title outside of being Trump's sycophant who goes around the world cutting billion-dollar deals. I think that to me is a bridge too far. And I'm going to make sure I write my elected official, because I happen to live in a pretty solid blue district, to let them know that I don't want you supporting him for speaker. I think there are many other choices for speaker, Black, white, Hispanic, LGBTQIA, all throughout the Democratic caucus. And so I don't think he'd be a good leader at all. And I don't think he's entitled. He hasn't shown he's not a good minority leader. So I don't agree with that. And so I hope we do something about that.
Well, let me pause you there, Shawn, real quick. And I know, like I said, I know we short on time. So, what does that united front look like? Give me an example, because my mother agrees with me. But it's funny. She said you both need to run for office. I've been telling her he should have been running for office. But so tell me what that united front looks like. I've heard the criticism from Hakeem. My take personally is that right now, we got to make the main thing and focus on getting control of the House. And we can do a lot of that later. But, we're dealing with straight up fascism and a despot and a wannabe dictator. But that united front, what would you, if you were speaker, what would that united front have looked like? Because, let's put all the cards on the table. Not defending Hakeem Jeffries. Just stating the facts that you know better than me because you've worked in government, that the Democrats, they can't pass legislation. They can bring a bill up. But you've got the MAGA cult member, little mini midget, MAGA Mike Johnson. You don't have control of the Senate, the executive branch, even you got a MAGA Supreme Court. So what would with that environment, what would you, Speaker Felix Shawn Mitchell, have done in terms of generating this united front? What does that look like?
I would have taken a page out of the Newt Gingrich, the Kevin McCarthy, the past speakers on the Republican side. United front, don't break ranks. You break ranks, you get no DCC money. You break ranks, we will see to it that you're primaried. But let's take a step back from that part. The Democratic Party is a big tent party. So what does that look like? That means that you have quote unquote what the GOP
Moderates.
media label as the moderates or centrists, which and I'm just going to say this in my opinion, centrist is code for corporate. I will go along with whatever the corporate industry. So it's that Bill Clinton third way politics. I triangulate. Yeah, I don't really take a stance. I kind of sit in the middle. And I think that's what's gotten us here. Let's look at our politics. Our politics over the last 25 to 30 years have been pulled right. Right now, some of the things that the Democrats have passed, let's use the ACA. God bless them for passing the ACA. But the ACA was a Republican bill, meaning it looked out for the insurance companies and not the customers, us. And so it moved healthcare, instead of us talking about single payer or Medicare for all, it moved it under this umbrella that you all have to buy insurance. There's no caps on rates from the insurance company, and you're still getting poor service and not being denied treatment. So what did it get you? It gave you a Republican plan under a Democratic president because he could not garner enough votes to get something through. And so we have this mishmash, and here we are roughly 18 years later, and the insurance situation, because of the Republicans and their big beautiful bullshit bill, we're right where we were, in the danger of not having anything. Right. And so
let me say this in all fairness, there are tens of millions of people that were able to get insurance. You just couldn't kick people off for pre-existing conditions. If you had a son or daughter, they could stay on your health. So there were some things, and you did hit the nail right on the head. He got it basically, and he was fortunate to get that through because Ted Kennedy, passed just as he was getting it through.
Right.
So I just wanted to kind of put all that on the table, and because it wasn't perfect. But it was better than what we had before, because as some of the tens of millions of people whose lives were saved because they were able to get insurance before when they couldn't get it.
Well, those same tens of millions of people that were saved can't afford the insurance that was given to them. Right. And so the bigger point is, you got that through, but you should have kept building on it while you had numbers to kind of move and shift it more towards the Medicare for all or the single payer type of structure.
But did he have those votes? Did he ever have?
Well, but see, here's the problem. The Republicans never have the votes, but they get the votes. And so I'm kind of at the point, because I've been doing, the political thing since 2006. Really before that, I've always been politically conscious, but I didn't necessarily participate. I think the majority of voters, especially those of us who have voted Democrat 80, 90, 100% of the time, we're sick of hearing what we can't get past.
I agree.
Because you have a current government that doesn't give a shit about any of that and does what they want. And so this is the conundrum that Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer find themselves in. They're playing old politics. That's not the environment we lived in. Back in 2016, the chief grifter in charge changed that landscape. Yeah, and the Democrats refuse to catch up with that landscape. And when you have Democrats like Jasmine Crockett or AOC, or now Mr. Syed, Dr. Syed, who's running for Senate, or you have outspoken Democrats, they all run from them. And that's the problem with the Democratic Party. If you go out here and you take a poll and you say, which party is stronger, Republicans or Democrats? Polls are going to show you that 75% of the people say the Democrats are weak. And this is exactly why we're in this situation. Running and saying Trump is bad, vote for me, doesn't do anything for anybody. It just says, I don't like Trump, so I'm going to vote for this person. But what are you going to do?
They do the same. Right.
What are you going to do for us? What are you going to change? Let me give you a perfect example. You've heard, I brought this up on your show before. So the state of Indiana decided to get into the Bears thing. The Bears are a $9 billion company. It just so happens to be a football team. And they haven't managed their business well. They bought property in Arlington Heights, Illinois without having a plan. And now they want the state taxpayers to help them build their stadium. They never went to the legislator to tell them what they want. They've asked them what they want. Here comes Indiana because they want to hurt Governor Pritzker and the blue Democrats in Indiana. They in Illinois, and they offered to build a stadium in Northwest Indiana, miles away from Gary. What's happening in Gary? They don't have lights right now. That means they don't have clean water, sewage treatment plants aren't working, or any of those things. And guess what happened in Gary? They didn't trim trees back from the power line. So when you have a derecho, which is basically a smaller version of a Category 1 hurricane that went through in 90 minutes, it just destroyed everything. And so you mean you have money to give the Bears billions to build their football stadium that's going to be on a toxic dump. Let's just put a paperclip in that. But you don't have billions to redo your infrastructure, and you're blaming the company that you're allowing to provide the electricity, who is invested heavily in data centers. So what's wrong? That's just a microcosm, because I always like to tell people all politics are local. If there's shit going on locally where you don't have clean water, you live in a food desert, none of that national shit matters, And so here we are, Democrats play nice. Stop playing nice. Start going after people. People like Fetterman, who want to play this neutral game and put Israel before the United States, kick him out of the party. Get rid of him. Stop this shit. I believe the Democratic Party is a big tent. We have spaces for all voices. I don't care how we argue behind closed doors, but when we get on that Senate floor or on that congressional floor or the House floor to debate bills and vote on shit that's good for your Democratic voters, get that shit together and vote and do what you have to do. I don't hate the Republicans. I don't like anything about them and how they govern. But one thing I will say, they will fall in line and get shit done when it's on the agenda. Whether it's a President Barack Obama, whether it's
or not get shit done,
Joe Biden,
right? Or not get shit done, Shawn, because what they did, they didn't get things done. They impeded progress.
They got their shit done. Their agenda was to impede progress. Their agenda was to give billionaires a tax break last year.
There you go.
Their agenda was to make sure they protected the pedophile in charge of the country. They did that. I'm not saying Democrats need to do bad shit. What I'm saying is you need to get united behind a united front. I also want to give respect to certain Democrats. I can appreciate Democrats like Danny Davis finally retiring and saying, let me, he's been an awesome representative, and I'm glad that he's stepping down. Now I'm looking at Auntie. I mean, Maxine, you've done a great job, but now it's time to get younger people in there. Let me tell you why. There is a canary in the coal mine from when Ruth Bader Ginsburg was on the Supreme Court, and Barack Obama had enough votes to replace her. She didn't step down.
She didn't want to go.
You're in your 90s. It's time to go. I know that upsets people, but you can't beat Father Time. And the Democrats have to be more strategic, or what's going to happen is you're going to have a whole new generation of voters that are not going to support you because they're sick of the weakness. A lot of people, whether you believe it or not, voted for Barack Obama and turned around and voted for Trump. Why? Because they saw the Democrats as weak, and Trump came in like a strong man, a wrong strong man. But you got to get into the psychology of how your voters think. Everything right now is costing a lot, but there's still a significant amount of voters that don't think it's Trump's fault. Well, and the media doesn't help you with that. So you have to do something different.
I agree. But I'm gonna get you out here on this. Okay, first of all, anybody that would vote for Obama or vote for Trump, You really need a psych evaluation because two diametrically opposed people. But I don't want to drill down on that because I don't have that kind of time.
But see, just let me throw in this scenario. You have people who voted for both of them for the same reasons, saying that they were sick of things not being done. And so it might have been misguided to vote for Trump because you thought he was going to do something. But just let's go back to 2016, how he was presented by the media, how he presented himself. If you didn't know that much about him, but you just heard the name as a celebrity doing The Apprentice, you might have thought he was a great businessman.
Okay, so I get
or
that.
extremely rich.
So let me say this because I know you got to run, but here, just because I don't want to spend time on Trump. Okay, I still work in the media. You worked in the media. You know the media game. You know the conflict, outrageousness. It gets viewers, it gets clicks, and it gets likes. But just in terms of Trump and the Republicans, in terms of doing things to help people, and the bottom line on Orange Hitler, go back to 2016, the jet fuel, the engine that propelled him into office was rooted in racism, misogyny, sexism, and you could throw in a little classism, but it was rooted in racism and misogyny and sexism.
So what does that tell you? That tells you we live in a country where probably about a good 65% of the people are racist, sexist, misogynistic bigots.
So let me
for him to get in there the second time. And so I think that's something that we really need to have an honest conversation about, because a lot of the people that we live next door to or we work with actually agree with a lot of this racism and misogyny. And so here we are. And so that's why I say goes back to the broader point as to why I don't agree with Chuck Schumer or Hakeem Jeffries being in charge, because we need new fighters. This is a different war. It's not the same war. This is like going to war with rocks and sticks, and your opponent has nuclear weapons. You can't do shit with rocks and sticks. Right. It's time to fight differently.
And so I agree with the change in leadership. As a matter of fact, I've had the antidote to that, and I've been saying it for probably 5 of the 6 years that I've been on camera. So I'm gonna say it again to everybody watching. First of all, real quick, I know you respect numbers. Men lie, women lie, numbers don't lie. The voting, the demographic group of Americans that make up the majority of the population are millennials and Gen Zs. All right. So that means millennials and Gen Zs, you have the power. 90 million people didn't show up. Now, to solve your dilemma, and not just your dilemma, but the dilemma that, including myself, I agree. I agree with new leadership. But how do you get leadership? You got to show up. You got to show up. So we can sit here and we can pine about what Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer. President Obama in 2010, folks that showed up didn't show up because we thought that it's over, it's post-racial, and I'm trying to educate folks, So if it comes across being hard, but I'm saying if we gonna hold everybody accountable, that means everybody, including ourselves. So if for those who feel you want new leadership, show up for new leadership. Show up for Jermaine Jackson that's running for governor. Show up for Angie Nixon that's running to be in the U.S. Senate. Show up for those people. Show up or shut up. Don't complain. Don't tell me what Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries and nobody is not doing if you are not showing up and bringing folks with you. In closing, the one thing I will acknowledge this cult did, which started with the Tea Party, which was a racial backlash to Barack Obama. The one thing they did is they took over the Republican Party, and it's no longer a party. So if you don't like what Hakeem Jeffries or Chuck Schumer or whoever, you got the power, especially millennials and Gen Z. Run, like my mother said, I'm not running, Shawn, run for office and then support the people. Put money, the money you're going to spend at the Super Bowl or going to see Usher or Chris Brown or NBA All-Star Weekend, put that money behind a candidate, run for yourself. You got the numbers. You got the power and the numbers to shut this shit down. Millennials and Gen Zs. I'm gonna give you the last word. Thank you, brother. I know you got to run, so you got the last word. We got to, because I want us to have that conversation. I love it, and you'll let me know off camera the next time. Maybe we'll just center on that.
And yeah, I think that's a conversation to happen around November 11th.
Okay.
But I think it's important that we bring this up now with the current news, and just like I like to put paper clips and things and come back to them. I do want to say this. I'll end on a positive note. My wife and I were able to go to the Obama Presidential Library. We actually did the tour, and it was awesome. And some of that gave me new energy. It reminded me of how far we've come in this country. And I think that a lot of times what we have to do as individuals, because every single day, the current administration is doing shit that you just turn on the news and you hear something, you go, oh my God, why are they doing that? How are they doing that? And all these different things. And then that's politics. Let's not forget that 24 people have been lynched or died in Mississippi. Nolan Wells, we still don't know what happened to Nolan Wells. You have Clancy, who killed her kids, and she's being hailed as some kind of hero. These things are all going on. At the same time, you have a war. You have wars raging around the planet. Our climate is falling apart, and so going to the president's library was an inspiring. I urge everyone, if you're planning a trip to Chicago, whether it's this time next year, you need to plan on trying to get tickets in advance. They go very, very fast. There's so many things inside the library. It is so inspiring. It's a beautiful campus on the south side of Chicago, and we thoroughly enjoyed ourselves. There's so much art. There's so many messages. Just talking about it, I feel electricity running through my body, because it was kind of, for me, especially when I went to the campaign wing. As you know, I really started my political venture into politics when President Obama was running for president, and I was actually working on his campaign in South Carolina. I worked on the Obama for America committee. I did some of when he was doing his interest campaign, and I got very involved in that. But going back and looking at those pictures and looking at the slogans, the buttons, the speeches, just reminded me of how great we can be, how united we all were. And this is just a blip. And so to those millennials and Generation Z and all the young people coming along, I like what I hear. One reason why I split my time between being a lawyer and a college professor is that I enjoy being around the young people and listening to their thoughts and how they process and how they bring outside the box of thoughts. I also like the fact that, I will say, on the Democratic side, we've started doing, or at least on our side, and should I say on our side, we've started really investing in our infrastructure as far as podcasters, young people having a voice, young people speaking up. We have young people like Talarico is a very young man. He's running for the Senate in Texas. The two brothers one of the brothers in Tennessee, forgive me for not thinking of the brother
Pearson
with the afros, Justin Pearson.
And Jones.
I am, and I'm looking at them and thinking, these are our next Al Greens
look at
that are coming.
Angie Nixon. We got to get
Angie
her in the
Nixon.
Senate.
Yes, she's in the Senate. When you look around the country, we need to talk about
look at your candidate for governor in Wisconsin. You got
in Wisconsin. You got Said up in Michigan. You have some wonderful candidates around. And right now, the way it stands, because we're a big tent party, I don't care whether you're a Democratic Socialist or a conservative Democrat. I want a D behind your name because I know whether you're conservative in the party, moderate in the party, or a leftist in the party, we have some core values. We believe that every American should have health care insurance and should get the care they need. We believe that every child in the country should have an education that is equal to everywhere else in the country. We believe in affordability, that people should be able to buy the goods and services they need and work a 40-hour week without struggling. Those are the fundamental beliefs. I want the party to go back to where FDR had the party.
Come on,
I
Shawn.
think if
Come
we
on
go
now.
back to those things, we lift all boats. That was a point where the country came out of a economic depression and we build shit.
Right. And just go back without the racism, because even with the Great Society and Social Security, black
well, it's
folks
1930s America, 10
But-
years
but, hey,
after the
listen.
Red Summer. So
Well, no,
I mean,
but still,
racism was a feature, not a bug.
No, but I'm just saying. I'm just saying, just stating the fact here. I'm with you.
Yeah.
The principle without, and we can do it. Can't we go back to the principle? Like why did black soldiers not get GI Bills? Why did it take 7, 8 years after the Social Security law was signed before black Americans could get Social Security?
And why do we have the school system we have? Because when they did Brown v. Board the education, you had school systems throughout the South shut down and create a private school system that is now going on, that they're giving your tax dollars and vouchers in some states to
right here in South Carolina
further dilute your educational systems. And so this is just the beginning of the fight. It's not even the beginning of the end of the fight. We are just beginning. And I think a lot of people got complacent. You know, a black president doesn't solve all ills to a country that was built off racism, misogyny, subjugation, and stolen land.
Genocide, exploitation.
That is the truth. All of those things. And so those are things, that battle, you know, I was talking to my wife, and I'll end on this, the other day. She was really upset because we saw a news story about another young man being found hung in Mississippi.
Yeah, man.
And she said, I thought that this was over. And I looked at her, she had tears in her eyes, and I said, I never thought this would be over. I always think that racists and hating people go when things are well, and they're planning to make things worse all the time. So I hope this teaches everyone that the fight for freedom doesn't stop because one battle is over. The next battle is coming. This is always going to be a war. And it would be nice if we could just go back to a place where we had a sensible opposition party, and I'm talking the Republicans, who want to debate policy and do what's best for the American people, as opposed to win culture wars that don't really put food in anybody's mouths, money in their pocket, housing over their head, and insurance for everybody. So yeah, you're damn right. I probably should run for politics, but I don't want to have anything to do with it. I like being the agitator on the outside of politics, holding people accountable. To me, that's where the power is. It's not power in being a representative and sitting up there all day and watching in frustration as shit doesn't get done. So,
well, like a team, Shawn, everybody has a role. We have a role on the outside, but we need people on the inside. But everybody needs to be on the same playbook. Okay.
That's why I cheer for the Jasmine Crockett's, the Justin Peters, the Miss Nixon, and all of those individuals running, and I support them wholeheartedly. And if there's anything, if they were to reach out and say, hey, will you advise me or help me, I'm here for it. And so, but I like holding accountability on the outside because I don't answer to anybody. I don't even work for a corporation. And right now I work for the state as an educator, and I follow the rules. Whatever I do outside of the classroom, it's within my bounds because I'm gonna always fight for my people. And let me say this, my people don't just include black people. They include white people that stand up for black people and other injustices. My Mexican brothers, Asian brothers and sisters, if we're all on the same plane, then we're all good. But if you're my enemy, I want you gone too.
That's right.
So There we have it.
If we are Team Humanity. If you were Team
Right.
Humanity and
Hmm.
against racism and bigotry in all of its forms, because
Hmm.
everybody know, as I wrap it up, in this capitalistic society for centuries, hate, bigotry, and fear has always been
Hmm.
big business, and it still
Hmm.
is to this day. And all those names, full disclosure, all those names Shawn mentioned, Justin Pearson and Representative Justin Jones in Tennessee, Angie
Hmm.
Nixon, from Jasmine Crockett.
Hmm.
This brother was that 15 years ago. See, I got us. I'm making this. Now, if you never seen a black person blush, you seeing it now, because he was that. He was that. He was that person 15 years ago, and I told him that, and he almost ran for a minute. So it ain't too
Yeah.
late. So he has got that energy. He's had that energy. We've had the conversations you see on camera. We had in a studio at a radio station that I still work at, and we had those conversations virtually 20 years ago. And 20 years
Yeah.
ago, I saw that he was Jasmine Crockett, Justin Pearson. You throw the name AOC, that was him. He was
I
that
didn't even
before
have
all
I
of
didn't even have had a law degree. That was one of the inspirations for me to go get my law degree. Shout out to David Mack and Representative James Clyburn, because I can remember them walking in a radio station there in Charleston. I used to be the afternoon personality, and I was wild because I was in my late 20s at that point, and I had locks down my back, and I can remember David Mack every week would come in, and right before they used to tell us, hey, we have a political show coming on during the 9 o'clock. Could you please not play such outrageous rap? And I think at the time, one of Ludacris songs, "You Want to Lick Me from My Head to My Toe." Every time at the end of it, right before they got ready to come on, I would play the most outrageous stuff. So one week, David Mack, rest in peace, he came to the studio early. He brought some food, and he got there probably like at 5:15. So he knew I had commercial breaks. So during one of the commercial breaks, he knocks on the studio, and I kind of turned around like, oh, here come these political people, man, and, whatever. And I waved him in. He came in. He said, "Hey, brother, I brought some food. When you get a chance, you got a moment to talk to me?" Like thinking like, what this man want to talk to me? David Mack, forgive me, but I'm gonna tell you what I was really thinking. What this old dude want to talk to me about, man? I ain't
Right.
trying to engineer their show. I'm gonna go out to the club tonight. So anyway, he pulls me to the side. He said, "Listen, I listened to your show, and I admit I would talk hip hop stuff, but I would bring up stuff like, hey, you need to go out and exercise your right to vote." And at the time when I got there, I'm not gonna go into details, but a brother with mental illness got shot and killed in the parking lot of Piggly Wiggly for stealing meat. And the radio station management, they didn't like that how wild I was, but what they loved was that I would talk about certain things that were bad happening in the community during my breaks. At some point, I would bring it up. And so he said, "Hey, I heard what you said about the brother that lost his life, man." He's like, "Every time I hear you and when you talk, I know you're into your hip hop thing, but you sound super intelligent. Have you ever thought about, getting into politics and really working to bring out people to vote?" And I remember what I told him. I said, "Man, I don't give a damn about none of these politics because y'all gonna let the white people steal the election from Gore." And I went into this own things. And when I got done, he said, "That's what I'm talking about. They need to hear that." And so shout out to David Mack. He has been awesome in my life. And maybe one day on the show, I'll give a story about how I met
Congressman Clyburn.
Congressman Clyburn. I'll give that one. But later on, after the election, I'll give the story about my interactions with
Timothy
King Coon, Mr.
Scott.
Scott. Yeah, I'll
Oh,
tell you about my
Timothy.
interactions. Yeah, I'm gonna say this real quick. I'm just not gonna say any names or places. I had members of a church that I belonged to that in Charleston, and bless their souls.
I know a church.
When I did my show, and every time I did my talk show on one of the stations there in Charleston, because I had started doing politics shortly after President Obama got elected, I was given an opportunity by a program director to do a Black progressive show, the first one in Charleston on the radio. And every week I lit into Timmy Scott. just would not let up. And at the time, he wasn't a senator. He was something like a state representative,
Sure
or
was.
maybe even, he was a state representative. And he sang Sambo as now as he was then. I'm gonna say this. I go on his page every time he posts to remind him how much of a Sambo sellout loser he is. So I was doing that for a long time. So yeah, you brought back a lot of memories, because yes, I have been doing this for a long time. If we go back to Grambling and talk about the protests that I had when I was 18 years old, where I got maced for protesting pork being cooked and not segregated on the grill in the kitchen. It's a whole lot of stuff. I have been a rebel rouser for quite some time, some for good, some for bad, but always for the people.
No doubt. All right, man. Listen, kudos, apologies to your queen. I kept you over.
Yeah.
You know how we are. We'll talk. We'll talk later in the week. I know how busy
Yes.
you are. So I'm gonna reach out
Definitely.
to you. We'll talk personally, and then we got to get you back on the show. It's a great conversation. So many layers. That's why. That's why that's my man right there. I love him. He's a brilliant brother. And we're gonna get him to run for office, because he's a little younger than me. So it's like you right there. You kind of like, you at maybe on the edge of the sweet spot. I'm a little past the sweet spot. I still could, but I'm like, nah, I'm willing to light that torch. So Shawn Mitchell, let everybody know you and your podcast. Real quick,
yeah.
Let everybody know about your
you can check
podcast.
me out, The Felix Files on Substack. That's The Felix Files on Substack. I'm actually about to publish something op-ed this week. Since summer is over, I'll be back to publishing op-eds and videos once a week. The Felix Files at Substack. So join me there, and look me up on Facebook, The Felix Files.
And you'll love it. He's a great writer on top of it. Just, passionate about the culture and humanity, but he's a brilliant writer. So, all right, Shawn. All right, family. Love you, man. We'll talk this weekend.
Yes, sir.
All right. That's my family right there. Brilliant brother. All right, listen, everybody. Thank you for letting me be a part of your life. God bless each and every one of you, and especially you, God, most of all. Thank you for letting me do the Geno Jones Show. So I'll see you Thursday, 7:30 p.m. live. So, yes. I'm just going to, I was going to say something, but I'm just going to leave it alone. So we're here. I'll see you 7:30, 6:30 Chicago Central Time, 4:30 p.m. on the West Coast. We'll be right here live tomorrow. As a matter of fact, I have a guest, another guest. She is Nicola Hempfield. She got fired. She is a grassroots organizer, community organizer, a grassroots activist and organizer, just brilliant sister. So it's going to be it's going to be a passionate conversation. We'll see you. Once again, everybody, before you get out here, do me a favor, please. Click on the thumbs up button, like, share, click the share, and subscribe. Click the subscribe button. Like, share, subscribe, share, and like. And we'll see you live. Oh, and leave your comments in the comment section below. We'll see you Thursday, 7:30 p.m. Eastern, everybody. 6:30 Central Time, 4:30 p.m. on the West Coast.
Subscribe and tune in to the next episode of The Geno Jones Show, exclusively right here on YouTube.